Yo, what's good? I appreciate everybody for tuning in this Saturday night. It's still Saturday. Uh, where we're going to talk a little bit about some of the good stuff, bad stuff, whatever, and different stuff that's going on in the village of Dalton. There's a lot going on, and I'm gonna be honest, I just been busy this week, so I have a chance to catch up with a lot of the shenanigans that were going on. So outline before we start, we're going to cover three specific topics. We're going to talk about the contempt hearing. We're going to talk about the investigation into Andrew Holmes, why it went nowhere, presumably. And we're going to talk about conflict of interest. And the last topic is something that, I don't know, I might do that first, but that's something that a supporter of the channel reached out to me with some documentation, and I kind of looked through it because it was a lot. It was documents in there that was out. It was written before your boy was born, so I definitely wasn't reading all of that shit, but I read enough of it to get an understanding of how Illinois establishes conflict of interest when it comes to an individual holding multiple positions. So we're going to talk about that. Shout out to everybody in the channel. Yeah, I know, man. It's been a busy week. It's been a busy week. Your boy been a little tied up, but hey, I'm back on it, and hopefully things calm down in the next few weeks. But shout out to you for the first comment of the day. I always like the round of applause. My guy Wolverine, Gerald, Pretty Ass Covington. What's up, sis? I appreciate everybody for tuning in to the chat. Now, let's go ahead jump in. I think let's start with the contempt hearing first. Just a little background, and on the replay, I always point to the wrong side. I post a link on the top of this video for the folks who watch on the replay. But long story short, contempt order was established. The trustees filed a contempt order, and they got a contempt order, a temporary restraining order. Temporary restraining order is just something to stop somebody from doing something. It could be anything from using image that I believe is my image. It can stop a person from having contact or being in close proximity with another person if it's a family court thing. And temporary restraining orders are not hard to get. Like real talk, right now, uh, somebody's girlfriend, spouse, significant other can go to the courthouse like tomorrow or Monday and probably get a temporary restraining order just with like two or three statements in 5 or 10 minutes. So it's not a difficult thing to get, but the whole purpose of it is to stop somebody from doing something. Most often you see it in the family court aspect, but a lot of times it happens in civil litigation. Tylenol doesn't want Bear using this drug that they believe they have the intellectual property rights to. They'll file a temporary restraining order to prevent them from using it temporarily while the court figures everything out. That's essentially what was done here. The trustees were like, yo, we can't get our work done. And this lady just keep appointing people. She appointing uh, administrators. She's appointing police chiefs. She's trying to fire people. She's trying to do all of these things without our approval. Politics generally. Person on charge make a nomination. The trustees, the council, the Senate, whatever you want to call it, they have to confirm that nomination. None of that has been happening. That's why they filed for a temporary restraining order, and they were granted a temporary restraining order. Now, what happens when you violate a temporary restraining order? Most times the judge holds your ass in contempt, and you're probably going to get a big fine. Most times it's a fine. It's very rare you held in contempt and thrown in custody. I mean, hey, even your boy has been threatened with contempt as an attorney for not shutting up. But I was right, and I'm gonna keep talking. But it just happens. So let's go ahead and dive into this article so we can really see what happened. Typically, these hearings just have two or three people in it. This has whoever the petitioner is, the respondent, the judge, maybe the clerk of court. It is like 4 or 5 people in the room. This was a Zoom call, and apparently it was like 150 people on this Zoom call. I don't even know how they got the link to the Zoom call. I'm just assuming that maybe people just kind of like handed out the link or something like that. I don't know, but that's what it was. A shout out to the new folks in the it sure gave me a compliment. I know. My daughter bought this shirt, man. She saw this shirt. She's like, "Oh, she's like, yeah, my daughter got me this shirt. I had to think about it, but yeah, my daughter bought me this shirt. I was like, okay, this is dope. So let's go ahead and pull up so we can see what happened at this crazy ass contempt hearing. That's the best view right there. Now, with some dumbass arguments, I personally think that the judge was being a little soft because it says judge issued warning to Tiffany Henyard. Wah 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 wah. When you issue a warning, you issue it. Well, let's just read it first, then I'll talk about it. But I don't know. The judge is giving kind of soft to me. That stupid ass dog, and he just acting crazy. All right, it says the dysfunction in Dalton spilled into Cook County courtroom where the judge was asked to hold Mayor Tiffany Henyard in contempt for allegedly meddling in village operations, even after being warned not to. Okay, let's see. Judge Thaddeus Wilson issued a temporary restraining order on September 25th, blocking Henyard's attempt to appoint a new village administrator, village attorney, and police chief. The judge said the law requires the mayors to receive the trustees' approval for those positions. Trustees opposed to Henyard returned to court on Thursday, claiming Henyard disobeyed the order by instructing a vendor to cut off Keith Freeman's access to village license and permitting software. Freeman was Henyard's top advisor in both Dalton and Thornton Township before he fell out of favor for cooperating with Henyard's opponents as she attempted to fire him. Trustees also claim Henyard picked for police chief, who was blocked from assuming the position by the judge, has refused to turn in his badge, uniform, keys to the police station. And that's real quick. That's hilarious because the police chiefs, police chiefs, or people who are purported or believe themselves or hold themselves out as police chiefs, they have a problem with turning their equipment. They don't want to turn in keys. They don't want to turn in Tahoes. This shit is kind of ridiculous. What was the village licensing and permitting software? Um, Interesting. I would like to know more about that software, but trustees also claim Henyard's allies have interfered with their efforts to get the locks changed on village buildings to prevent laid off employees from accessing their facilities. At Thursday's hearing, Henyard's attorney insisted his client is cooperating. She has promised to follow your order, and she will, attorney Max Solomon told the judge. The judge declined to hold Henyard in contempt of court, but offer a stern warning after the hearing. I don't know, like I don't know. That's just the judge. Other words is soft. I promise you, I don't have a problem enforcing my ruling. Judge Wilson said, "This is a fair warning to both sides." Okay, Judge, whatever you say, will Judge Wilson. Solomon later told WGN Investigates that trustees' allegations are false and dramatic and only serve to undermine village residents. Mayor Henya has been nothing but a victim of the fact, of the factional politics and at the receiving end of an unfortunate consequence of the chronic lack of communication and cooperation, Solomon said. On Tuesday, Henya sent a letter to village administrator Freeman instructing him to be present at the village hall from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and submit a written report of the day's activities to her daily. That's hilarious. Henya's administration previously claimed Freeman was frequently not present at Village Hall and failed to perform his duties, leading to their attempt to terminate his employment. All right, so long story short, the judge did absolutely nothing. I'm kind of confused as to why he even gave her this threat. If I don't, they're at a hearing. The trustee says she's blocking Keith Freeman from this licensing software, so he presumably can't issue or revoke or suspend businesses who are trying to get licenses and may or may not be entitled to a license. If that is the case, they're saying that this happened. I didn't read anything on the article or anything in any news story. All the news stories were like 45 seconds long. I didn't read anything where her attorney actually denied the allegations that were being alleged by the trustees. So if you don't deny the allegations that are being tossed out there about you, one, two is presumed that that shit is true. And if it's true, that would in fact be a violation of the order. So why would you threaten to enforce uh temporary hey, don't tempt me, I'll hold you in contempt if you don't follow my order. And it looks like she's not following the order. I don't even know what the point of that is. It's actually confusing. Actually it kind of make you look a little weak as a judge, in my personal opinion. But what's good, BTB? I appreciate you for tuning in. I think it just makes him look a little bit weak as a judge. Some of the commentary that I saw about the hearing were Henyard's attorneys essentially saying that things were miscommunications to that effect. I just don't think that's the case. I think that one, she's trying to interfere. Two, I think the trustees gave facts to support her interference and violation of the temporary restraining order. Three, and most importantly, I didn't see any article anywhere where her attorneys denied what they were alleging. And if that's the case, if person A provides facts saying this happened, person B doesn't say shit. If I'm a judge, I'm to assume that, hey, if you're not defending it, it happened, which would be you violating the temporary restraining order because you're interfering with the operation of the municipality, which you should not do. So I don't know. I think the judge was kind of goofy on that, and I think I seriously doubt there'll be an instance where the judge holds her in contempt. It would have to be something really egregious, like she just tries to appoint somebody else and says, "Hey, just go ahead, go to work." I don't think she's going to do that, and I also think that, let's say the police chief, I can't even recall his name now, but the guy who son was wild and he was overly supporting his son for jacking up and assaulting the elderly woman while he was on his official capacity working with law enforcement. I just don't see. She would have to do an express act, like which is what the trustees asserted. Trustees said she's not letting Freeman get access. He should have held her in contempt there. Moving forward, I would be shocked. I just don't see her doing anything that's going to be a direct violation of the restraining order. I'm gonna give her the benefit of the doubt because you held in contempt. Her black ass might get tossed in jail. So I would be shocked if she do something direct. She might, and it's honestly, I have no basis for giving her the benefit of the doubt, with the exception of I don't think that she wants to get thrown in custody at any point. That's it. I think getting thrown in custody is probably something she would probably want to avoid. Now, if the police chief, the people she wanted to or tried, attempted to appoint, the administrator, whoever, if they don't hand back property associated with the position that they in reality don't hold, I don't think that's something that she could be held in contempt for, unless it could be proven or shown that she like specifically directed them, was like, nah, bro, hold on to those keys to the police department and go ahead and show back up to work. Because if you show back up to work, we just gonna strong arm it. We just gonna strong arm things, and we want you to do the job. Now I know I should not be giving her the benefit of the doubt, but it's probably going to happen. And I wouldn't bet on this, but I would be shocked if she does something to directly violate the TRO moving forward. I would just be shocked because I just don't think she wants to go in custody. But I'd probably be wrong. If somebody asked me to bet on it, I'm not betting on it because she always does everything that whatever she's not supposed to do, typically is what she does. But I'm thinking the threat of custody will probably keep her honest, at least until the holidays. At least until the holidays. That's kind of my thought. Y'all let me know. That should be a poll question. Do you think at any point over the next 90 days, Tiffany Henyard will actually violate the temporary restraining order and be held in contempt? And if she does violate it, I just don't think the judge is going to hold her in contempt. Shout out to the judge for actually approving and issuing a temporary restraining order, but I just don't think they're going to want to get tied up into it. Yeah. Any attorney fees have to be draining the money she keeps stealing, on top of the fact that she has multiple attorneys speaking on Henyard's behalf. I know I don't even, it's Solomon one day, is a law firm another day. It's the attorney at the trustee meetings another day. She just has a plethora of counsel, and everybody laughed at me when I said it. But I was like, yo, it actually might be cheaper to just appoint the let her appointment go through. It might be cheaper to let her appointment go through than the actual man hours that's going to cost if all of this stuff. So far, the temporary restraining order, they already went to court on that twice. And all the attorneys on both sides, the attorney for the village, the attorney for Henyard, all of that shit is being paid by the taxpayers. No matter how you slice it, Bert Oldenson, if it's the trustee's attorney, all of it is being paid for by the people. So it's absolutely ridiculous, I think. But I just don't think she's gonna. I don't think she's gonna violate the temporary restraining order moving forward for at least the next 90 days. And even if she does violate it, I'm just be honest. I don't think the judge got the heart to actually hold her in contempt. If he didn't do it now, because if it was just DFD, I'd have been like, oh, contempt. I already laid it out there. You violated it, and you didn't give any defense of the allegations that they said you did. Did you do it? You must have, because you normally if she didn't do something, even if she did do it, she's going to say that she didn't do it. But we didn't even hear anything about that argument. Maybe it was made. We don't know because we weren't. I wasn't one of the 150 people on the fucking Zoom call. But I would just be shocked. I don't think she's going to violate it expressly in the next 90 days. And even if she does, I don't think the judge is going to have the heart to just go ahead and hold her in contempt. I just don't see it. I think the judge is a little soft. I'm astonished at how much power a mayor has. Well, the mayor, hold on, your boy was a little parched. She has so much power in this situation because the trustees are, I'm not going to say they're incompetent, but they had a period of showing incompetent behavior. Anytime you got the executive branch, the legislative branch, which essentially is the equivalent of the trustees or the councils, then you got the courts. Well, we're not even worried about the courts. But typically, power between the executive, the mayor, and the council or the trustees, it just depends on how united the council is. So if you have a council that's divided, like we've had in the village of Dalton and for so long, if you have a council that's divided, the mayor is going to hold all the power because the council don't have the ability to overturn things. They can't get their fucking votes together. But once you have a Congress or a board of trustees or city council that's actually united with the majority of the vote, if it's six people on there and four of them are going to vote in a block, now the mayor is really stripped of her power. But she really just has so much power because of how inept the council has been. Yeah, first they was all on her job. They was glazing like, yeah, we team Henyard. Then when shit started to go left, when things started to go left, they were like, some people started to defect, other people weren't showing up, and it was just a mess. So they didn't have a set voting block that could kind of get things done, and it just made her even stronger. That's just kind of what the issue was overall. Yeah, she would violate with no consequences. See, that's what I think. I don't think she'll violate it immediately. I feel like she's gonna make it 60 to 90 days without like trying to appoint somebody new. But even if she does violate it, I don't think the judge is gonna do anything. That's just my take on it. We'll see. She may violate it Monday. She probably will. I wouldn't bet on it. I don't know why I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. I'm just think I think this is the closest threat of actually going in custody that Tiffany Henyard has ever had since her days of going into vehicles. Okay, as an elected official, her being held in contempt is the closest that she's been since the old school days. As we just talk about as an elected or appointed official, as to potentially being in the custody, and I think that's going to be enough to keep her honest for 60 to 90 days. Anything after that, I don't know. If she violated on Monday, y'all gonna come on here and give me shit, be like, this dude gave her the benefit of the doubt. But even if she do violate it again, I just don't think she's gonna be held in contempt. Nobody has done anything outside of the judge approving the TRO, so I don't see any reason why the judge would change. I mean, that's just my yeah. One bad decision by appointee could cost the taxpayers far more than attorney fees I think a civil lawsuit for police misconduct, Papa Bear, police chief might hire his son. Senior citizens are unsafe, and that's a fair point. I will tell you, uh, I looked at prior litigation from the police chief Lacey. Then I looked at litigation involving her would-be appointee who looked like he never going to get a chance to do the job because it was illegal, an illegal appointment. But I looked at both of their past litigation. He doesn't have a history of litigation surrounding police misconduct. Now his son, completely different ball game. Would he probably hire his son if he could, even though his son aided conviction? He probably would. He probably would pull a LeBron James and give his son something he don't deserve. It is what it is. We all probably would do that at some point or in some form or fashion. But I don't think he has the. I don't think he has. He doesn't have the historical litigation track record associated with police misconduct. So I don't know. I'm not saying it can't happen, but he's definitely not a Lewis Lacy. Lewis Lacy had a shitload of lawsuits from car chases to crashes, all sorts of stuff within the line of duty that cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars. This guy, his stuff wasn't so bad. It wasn't anything really related to his. It was all like kind of employment stuff, like wrongful termination and stuff like that. Oh, I appreciate it, Brian. I appreciate that. I don't know. I'm educated. I ain't the smartest person in the world. I work hard though. That's my saying. I ain't the smartest person in the room, but very few people gonna outwork me. I hate the fact that Keith Freeman gets a pass when he was an enabler of all of this. Oh yeah, and that reminded me of a point. That reminded me of a good point. I'm glad you said that. Yes, he was an enabler, but fortunate for him, when you sit in position of the number two, they are gonna. Anytime I hear something, I gotta look over see what this dog doing. Keith Freeman sat in the position of number two at the village of Dalton and with the Thornton Township because of him being in close proximity to Tiffany Henyard. He has the most leverage to give to law enforcement to potentially reduce his culpability and increase her likelihood of getting thrown in the big house. So, I mean, that's just kind of how it works. I mean, hey, if who knows more about a person doing wrong than their number two? That's just kind of how it goes. So in a he was in a fortunate position to essentially snitch when he did, if you really think about it. But the point that you actually reminded me of, it was a point that I read in that article where Tiffany Henyard says she wants Keith Freeman to show up. This is hilarious. She wants him to show up Monday morning, bright and early, and be there 9 to 5. And after that, at the end of every day, provide a report on what he's doing. Now, I kind of had a funny reason why I think this happened. Well, twofold. I think one, when he originally got either job, whether it was with the village or the township, Keith Freeman was not required to be there from 9 to 5. Okay, he probably showed up whenever the fuck he want. That's how politics go. We see it all the time. Uh, Politicians, elected officials, they hire somebody and there's a no-show job where like just keep your phone on you, come by whenever you want. So I seriously doubt that he actually ever went to work from 9 to 5 on a consistent basis. I don't think he was required to, as long as they were, essentially on the same page. Him and Henyard were, like this. So I don't think he was ever required to. So now that she's saying, hey, you're required to come from 9 to 5 and you got to give an accounting of what you're doing. One is just, okay, since we can't fire you, we're going to make you do your fucking job. Okay, which is smart for him, is actually works out in his favor. Yeah, I would show up 9 to 5 and I would do an accounting of whatever I'm doing at the end of the day. And if you ask me to do some shit that's kind of illegal, I'm going to also put that in that report that I'm filing at the end of the day. But I don't think he was ever required to go to work in any form or fashion. I don't think anybody, I ain't gonna say maybe a few people, but I don't think most of the people she either appointed or attempted to appoint it had a requirement where they knew they had to go to work from 9 to 5. I think they all just kind of knew what it was. I got this job. I can move, come and go as I please. Now that all this external pressure is on her and she can't get rid of Keith Freeman, he's allegedly working with the trustees and or the feds. Now she's like, all right, well, you need to have your ass and work 9 to 5 every day and tell me exactly what you're doing. The benefit from her is, yeah, I want you to tell me exactly what you're doing so I can keep an eye on it. I don't want you. That's actually kind of smart on her part. It benefits both parties. It benefits him because it gives Keith Freeman some type of coverage. If I annotate everything that I'm doing throughout the day, it's tracked, it's memorialized, and from this point on, I can pretty much insulate myself from fuck activity because you think if I'm doing something stupid, no, I'm gonna do everything on the up and up. I'm being watched, I'm helping out, and now I can put that on the show like, yo, this guy turned over a new leaf. It helps her because if your biggest enemy, and I think the person who knows the most about her is Keith Freeman, yeah, if you're the person who could potentially testify against me in a criminal trial and you're still working in this role that I gave you, I want to know exactly what you're doing every day because I need any type of ammunition and or leverage that I could use positively or negatively by holding something over your head that could pretty much make my situation easier or potentially discredit you. So I think it benefits both sides, in my personal opinion. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. I agree. Free was hired and late Henyard shenanigans. He just took orders from her until the house of cards started falling apart. I agree. Let's see. Tiffany Tiffany changes the goalpost when it suits her. Yeah, that's kind of the name of the game. But I think this is probably actually a little bit more advantageous for her. You want to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I think she would definitely consider Keith Freeman an enemy, and getting a daily report of what he's going on, it could afford her some leverage. And it also depends on how genuine he's being on this report. But I suspect he would be genuine. And let's turn over to Andrew Holmes, right? And I don't know, I got a take on this that y'all probably not gonna like. Um, yeah, I got a take on this that y'all probably not gonna like, but let me go and cue up the video first. Because I want y'all to see one, how we got here, and then we're gonna talk about why this investigation was closed, or why I presume or think this investigation was closed. So let me go ahead pull this up so we can. All right, we'll put it like this. So this was the story. It's 3 minutes. Let's go and watch because we need to know how we got here. All of this occurred before I got into the what the fuck is going on in the village of Dalton in the Thornton Township content. But let's see how we got here with this Andrew Holmes investigation. And this was the video I could find that probably had the most facts. It was a video where the victim actually gave an edited statement, but they provided some facts or details as to what allegedly happened out in Vegas.
WGN investigates with new information on allegations of inappropriate sexual conduct against a well-known community activist.
And today, the alleged victim released a videotaped statement to WGN in which she answers some, but certainly not all, questions about her claim that she had been assaulted on a taxpayer-funded trip to Las Vegas. Investigative reporter Ben Bradley has the story.
Over the past few weeks, we've been speaking with the accuser about a potential interview. Her answer was provided today in the form of a recorded and edited statement. She said she wants to share her story because she feels victimized twice. First, because of what happened in Las Vegas, and then again when she reported it to her boss, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
I deemed him the Uncle Drew. Like, I gave him the name, and it went all the way down to the mayor calling him Uncle Drew just regularly. That was just his name. Because
Uncle Drew is wild too. Calling like, unless you Kyrie Irving, calling a grown man who, like, okay, just real quick, fellas. I don't know if y'all know this, right? But the older you get, the more creepier things that you say or do are perceived. You at 22 could probably say something that's like a compliment and no one will think anything of it. But at 52, 62, you say the same thing, it's going to kind of give creep vibes. It could be the same thing and it could not be an offensive compliment. It's just how it's perceived. So calling a calling a trustee Uncle Drew, I don't know. That's just kind of giving. It's adding to the creep vibes. I'm gonna be honest. Andrew Holmes got an odd look to him, but I don't know. I wouldn't want nobody calling me like, "Hey," in a professional capacity. We on a work event, and they calling me like Uncle Marcus. That sounds like you asking for some type of litigation or a lawsuit.
I deemed him the Uncle Drew. Like I gave him the name, and it went all the way down to the mayor calling him Uncle Drew just regularly. That was just his name because he made everyone feel comfortable.
Fania Duke's claims in the recorded statement mimic those she made in a recently filed civil lawsuit and police report. She accuses a man best known for advocating for crime victims' families.
So now this family has to go through this pain
Of sexual assault. Andrew Holmes is a Dalton Village trustee and ally of embattled Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Dukes was Henyard's assistant at the time. She said the mayor brought her, Holmes, and an entourage of a dozen people to Las Vegas last May to attend an economic development conference. On the last night, Duke said she was relieved when Holmes agreed to go out with her on the Strip to celebrate her birthday. She later told police she blacked out after a night of drinking and smoking marijuana.
But I at least knew I got a man with me. I'm going to make it home. I ain't even got to worry about try to go on the Strip by myself. I legitimately thought that, I was going to make it home. Until my last memory was me waking up in his room.
Andrew Holmes has denied wrongdoing but declined to comment. Dukes and a police officer who was on the trip acting as Henyard's bodyguard are now suing, claiming they were retaliated against for reporting the alleged assault to Henyard the day after they returned home. The lawsuit says Holmes called and FaceTimed the officer, boasting about having Dukes in his room. The suit claims.
Yeah, listen to this part. Let me rewind it real quick. That dude look creepy. But listen to this part. These allegations are wild. I'm calling everything allegations because that's all it is. But this part is kind of wild with the text messages and the video stuff. I was like, ugh.
Called and FaceTimed the officer, boasting about having Dukes in his room.
That's crazy work.
Trustee Holmes then panned the camera toward a bed where the officer could see a woman, Ms. Dukes, who was partially undressed. It goes on to say Holmes moved the camera to various private areas of Ms. Dukes' body and was removing articles of clothing. Dukes praises the police officer for reporting what she says was a crime.
You're the only person that stood up for me, opened your mouth, had the dignity to put everything that you had aside your whole life, your whole personal life for somebody that you didn't even know. You honored the badge that you vowed for. And I appreciate you for that.
Dukes and the officers say in a lawsuit that when they reported the incident to Henyard the day after they returned from Las Vegas, the mayor first feared that if it got out, she'd be, quote, ruined. But then they say she vowed to handle it. In the weeks that followed, Duke said she was essentially fired and the officer demoted off of Henyard's security detail. Again, Andrew Holmes has not been charged with a crime. He continues to serve on the Dalton Village Board, and police have only said their investigation is ongoing.
Okay, so that's pretty much where we were and how we got here. Let me see this comment. The investigation in Vegas was messed up from the beginning due to the fact that they were from out of town. There were reports Holmes had video. Hey, one, I think everybody is aware when you're out of town traveling and something happens, it makes the investigation much harder because the persons you need are no longer within your jurisdiction. You can't reach out and grab them and bring them in easily for interviews, or if you wanted to do some type of forensic work, it's hard to get everything done. I mean, hell, Tupac got murdered in Vegas and they just came from down the road in Los Angeles and they ain't have no clue. So yes, I agree with that. I think that was a very good point that just, being being an out of towner does make the investigation a little bit more difficult because you don't have access to the witnesses. You don't have access to conduct the forensic evidence that you need to conduct. I agree. Yeah. Is he low down the court to cooking with Frank? That's funny. Not enough evidence to establish probable cause. Must have lost the phone video evidence. Okay, because what did y'all think when y'all first saw that story? When y'all first saw that story, did y'all think like, yeah, he did it, or yeah, he did? Uh, I don't know. I'm coming at all of this from hindsight, okay? But let me read this first before I give my point because I think this is a jacked up take. Now, if I actually played the video that they had, it was maybe 40 seconds long that the news broadcast did on the investigation being closed. It just says Las Vegas police investigation into Andrew Holmes closed, no charges will be filed. Literally like 40, 50 seconds tops. That's all that they said. But I'm trying to find this because and hey, we don't know what happened. And sometimes things happen, investigations occur, and they get closed, not because those events didn't happen, just because they don't have the evidence to prove that they happened. But because of this investigation, I don't want to mess the business up. Let me see. I don't want to mess the business up. All right. Andrew Holmes, a Dalton Village trustee and community activist, was fired from his job as a crisis responder for the nonprofit Chicago Survivors. This decision came after the sexual assault allegations were made against him in a lawsuit. All right. Now, hey, unpopular opinion, okay? But the news did a 3-minute detailed story. I just like it to be even on all sides. All right, that's all I like. I like if the sword, if you got a sword, it has to be sharp on both sides. When this story came out, they did a 3-minute and 30-second story on what evidence was alleged to have been had for this lawsuit that was filed. They had the alleged victim on there telling her story about what happened and the officers involved and how they were retaliated against and how she was terminated. And they did a 3-minute whole spiel on this. After this came out, I mean, outside of whatever shadiness he may have had with Tiffany Henyard, the dude loses his job because of these allegations, right? The investigation is ongoing. They're out of town, like the point that was brought up is much more difficult to do. And the lapse in time. I tell y'all all the time, it's much easier to investigate white collar crime. It's much easier to investigate drug crimes because that evidence just stays around forever. The phone calls, the text messages, the purchase, the receipts, it stays around forever. When you're talking about assault, batteries, those type of crimes, literally, it's like statistically, the first 7 days are like the most important because the physical evidence just it heals, it goes away. People memories get cloudy. It's just much more difficult to do because you have to operate in such a short period of time. But no investigation is closed. Vegas was like, nah, we ain't got anything. We're gonna let it go. And all they did was give a 40-minute spiel about how they just closed the investigation out. I don't know. Like, hey, I'm not saying something terrible didn't happen, but clearly Vegas police couldn't fucking prove that anything criminal happened, so they closed their investigation. And now this dude just has to suffer the consequences of like, damn, he lost his job because of that shit. That's kind of fucked up, right? I'm not saying I'm an Andrew Holmes supporter, but if I'm alleged to have done something and it's broadcast and I take all of these harms because of this allegation, once the criminal allegations vindicate me, like, oh, we're not pursuing it for lack of evidence, because that's the only reason they could not pursue it because of lack of evidence. How can you? What is that dude has a harm that's just kind of out there now? This dude lost his job. Hopefully, he get the job back. He may or may not get it back, but I don't know. I feel like they should have went in a little bit more detail or got a more of a statement from Vegas police as to why they actually closed this investigation out. In my personal opinion, that's my take. it is interesting though, and I think that was a good point. If they had video and all of this stuff, like yeah, the shit had to go missing. Because if they got video of him showing this woman actually in the bedroom of his hotel, which is wild and crazy to do if that is true. But if they had that video along with her statements and the statements of the officers, there's no way that they wouldn't have got this dude indicted on some state charges. Oh, they would have indicted the fuck out of him. So I think that's what happened. I don't think they had anything to corroborate it. They couldn't have had the video evidence because they got her statement. They got the statements of the officers saying what they saw, but they could be capping. It could be lies. I mean, not saying it is, but that's just how you got to look at it. Yeah. As a practical matter, I think an assault was possible, but I'm doubting the raincoat free violation because of Zink's age and appearance. That's interesting. It's so flimsy too. Like you don't know. It could be that they lost the evidence. It could be that he provided the authorities with additional evidence that was proved his innocence. Like, what if it was just an example as a text message that he received from her? Like, hey, I appreciate, hey, last night, Unc, you knocked it out of the park. What if it was a text message like that? Then you go look at it and be like, hey, wait, what? Unc knocked it out of the park. That's inconsistent with this. We can't move forward. It could have been anything. I do agree that, hey, anything is possible. Anything is possible. Those facts sounded terrible, but if they let it go, they let it go for a reason. I seriously doubt that. I'm not saying this isn't possible, but I seriously doubt that small town politicians in the village of Dalton were able to reach back and use their political power to get another state to drop criminal investigation related to something as serious as that. I just don't see that happening. I mean, like that would be wild if it did happen, but I just don't see that being the case. Yep, still a civil case. Now again, he might take an L on a civil case, but I think that's a big win because what happens is anytime you have, and I think we talked about this before, sometimes you have these parallel roads of investigations. There's been times where we conducted an investigation into a person that's criminal, and there's also a civil investigation. And normally, I've been on both sides. If I'm on the civil investigative side and there's a criminal investigation going on, I slow everything down. I just want to slow everything down on the civil side because I want the criminal investigation to wrap up first. Because if the criminal investigation actually proves the case, the investigation is done, let's say investigation was done, he was indicted and convicted. The civil case is easy. The civil case, all I got to do is use the evidence from that criminal case to prove my point. And there's an easier burden. I only got to convince 6 out of the 12 jurors that he did this, and 12 out of 12 just said he did it. So, that's normally what will happen if it's a parallel investigation. But the fact that now they dropped the criminal investigation, that means civilly, they're going to have to do all of the fact finding and do everything unilaterally on their own. And I don't know. I could see a scenario, and I don't know if this is the case, but it does happen. But there are scenarios where an attorney would take a civil case, and they take the civil case on the strength that they also know it's a parallel criminal investigation. And they praying to God, that attorney that civil attorney please let this dude get indicted and convicted so my job is easy. But once that fell off, now all the burden is on her attorney. You know how much that investigation is going to cost? Think about it. Now that there's no criminal investigation, no indictment is going to come from it, no conviction, nothing. Everything revolved around that litigation, she's going to have to pay for. She hired an attorney. Nobody going to do that civil case for her for fucking free. I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't take that case. If I was that attorney, I would be like, hey, you might want to dismiss this. You might want to dismiss this case unless she got really deep pockets. I don't know. She could be independently wealthy and super financial secure, but that shit's gonna be a tough hill to climb. Like she gonna have to do all the legwork. This allegedly occurred in Vegas. All of the trying to get hotel footage, trying to get all of this stuff that attorney probably was praying that police officers was gonna do. He got to do it on his own. He gonna have to pay for private investigators, constant communication with her. I don't know. I'd be shocked if the civil lawsuit go anywhere. Not saying that there's not facts to support it. I don't know if she has the economic bandwidth to go through with it. It's just going to be a lot. So I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I think there are way too many higher ups involved. I have a 10-4 where conspiracy had all it's too close to elections, in my opinion. I mean, that could be true. Okay. I'm just saying generally, I think it's generally uncommon. Okay, I'm not saying this out of. I'm more of a probability guy than a possibility guy, but it's definitely possible. But the probability that some small ass bumpkins, not offensively, just it's local politics, it's small politics. They can't even get their rules and processes right to do the shit they want to do. I just don't see that a small ass municipality like that, the persons in charge have leverage to drop an investigation by a whole nother state. Maybe if it was like federal politicians or something like that, of course they're gonna make that call and it's gonna be a wrap. But hey, I get it. It's possible, but I don't think it's probable. It is possible, but I don't think it's probable. OJ won the criminal case but lost the civil. I agree. OJ lost the civil, but the greatest part about that, I think that proves my point. Those people who filed that civil case against lawsuit, they weren't no broke ass people. I don't know the status of that witness. I don't know what her job was. She didn't have a job that was the equivalent of Tiffany Henyard or Andrew Holmes, clearly. She was out celebrating her birthday. Not to mention the other thing I was like, man, I don't know why she said that. She's like, yeah, I wanted to go out. I mean, again, not saying it didn't happen. I'm just pointing out the very bad facts. I don't know if she has the economic ability to fight through the civil litigation the way it was for the people who won in the OJ case. They actually had a bag already. So, hey, that lady's family had some cake so they could go through that lawsuit and it was no issue. I don't know if this lady has the economic position to do that. And it was just some things I heard in that interview that kind of hurt her case. She was like, yeah, I'm there on the economic empower trip and it's my birthday and I wanted to go out on the strip. So I was drinking. She was like, I was smoking some weed and drinking and Andrew came out with me to walk on the strip. I was like, why'd you say that part? Even if you did it, that's the part you leave out. You let that part come up in trial if you get asked on the stand so you don't got to lie about it. So I don't know. I don't know. I think it just looked bad off the cuff for both sides, but I don't think she's going to have the economic ability to go through with it. Lawsuits are fucking expensive. Like, I don't think y'all really go file a actual civil lawsuit against somebody. Because I guarantee you, Andrew Holmes isn't going to be in there by himself. He's going to have whoever he got representing him in court to fight that shit. I don't know. I just don't think she's going to have the economic bandwidth to do that. No charges doesn't mean innocent. I agree. No charges don't mean innocent. No charges in a closed investigation, it just means a lack of evidence. And if it's not evidence to prove it, I mean, I don't know. I don't live in the realm of hypotheticals. I just know that if an investigation was closed, I've never closed an investigation unilaterally. Well, no, I take that back. There are very rare circumstances where I've closed an investigation unilaterally, even though I had evidence that I probably could have proceeded with. Very rare. Happens on rare occasions. Most common time when it happened, it was a statute of limitations issue. Like, I don't know if y'all remember, like during the pandemic, all the courthouses closed down And so it kind of jacked up a lot of investigative agencies and prosecutors because we had all of these cases lined up, ready to go. But then courts slowed up. You couldn't have contact with anybody. Courts didn't really know how to adjust. And then there was this big ass backlog of cases. So if you had a case where the statute of limitations was 5 years, but the case was in year 4, you only had a year left. Then the pandemic happened. And as things got backlogged and back jammed, we just knew those cases probably weren't going to get to the light of day because of the backlog. So those were the unique circumstances where I'd be like, we got enough to move forward with this case, but we're not going to be able to shoot this case off in time. So let's just go ahead and let it go. Now, if it was something egregious, like if it was like some type of SA assault in a healthcare facility, I don't give a damn what the statute of limitations was. We're gonna push that shit through. So for charges like this, them to close the investigation, they couldn't have any evidence. So, but I do agree with your statement. Your statement is 100% a correct statement. So I do agree with that. I just think that no evidence is no evidence. Sloppy investigation. It could have been sloppy. I don't know. It's just difficult. If I flew to New York, like, you know how hard it is if I flew to New York, like let's say you in New York. I flew to New York and I was like, oh, I got a beef with you, Bo. When I see Bo coming out of his place of work, I'm a sucker punch him. And I just sucker punch you and tune you up. Then I get back on the train and I head back home. Like, you know how that is 100% difficult for investigators to do out unless they have some type of specific video footage. Like, oh yeah, that is the same guy from YouTube. He had on his Debt Free Dad t-shirt. Let's go pick him up. But unless you have some direct evidence like video, audio, something like that, it's just hard to do from out of state for a crime that involves so much physical evidence. It's just something that's complicated. Yeah. Plenty of plaintiffs. Stranger things have happened. That's fair. Pass. I know I've been doing good. I ain't cuss a lot. I think I maybe said like 4 cuss words. Yeah, I've been sleeping all day though. I've been sleeping all day. I was doing yard work all day. If I showed y'all my front yard, it look utterly ridiculous right now. Plaintiffs several settle and stop cooperating with the criminal investigations. Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Completely fair point and an actual good point. Let's wait it out and see. Let's wait it out and see if this results in some type of settlement. I don't see Andrew Holmes settling anything like this stuff. That. I don't know. That would be wild. I don't know. That would be wild. And I don't know. I think the order would be weird too. Like, I don't know. It's a good point. It's a very good point. I don't know. I think that's a highly unlikely situation. I think that's an unlikely situation what we're dealing with here. Because I know what she's trying to do. What she wants to do is this assault happened. Because I already know it's the same argument I would make. This assault happened. We were at a work event. We were there in our work official capacity, and she don't care about Andrew Holmes' money. She cares about the money of the people of the village of Dalton because they're the ones who got the deep pockets. Any wrong acts done by the employee are the obligation of the employer under the doctrine of respondeat superior. So I get it. That's what if you punch me in the face, and if you work at Pepco and you punch me on the face 5 minutes before you get off, I'm suing you and I'm suing Pepco. That's the approach that she's going with. So I get it. I would be shocked. I don't know. I just don't think that a settlement occurred in this. I could be wrong, but this doesn't strike me as a situation where a settlement would likely occur, in my personal opinion. Can the case be opened? Yeah, an investigation can always be reopened. It's not like it's a double jeopardy rule that applies. It's an investigation. I mean, investigation. You can close an investigation, reopen it if you got new evidence. I mean, the investigation being open or closed is solely at the discretion of the investigative agency. Because if they get some new evidence, that like, oh shit, we lost the video, but we got a copy of the video again, and he was showing her laying on the bed. If they get the video, they just gonna reopen the investigation and move forward. So they definitely can reopen it. Let's see. Norfolk VA, what's going on? All right. Could it be that they aren't pursuing it further because she didn't report or have a rape kit completed in Vegas? She waited till she got back to Chicago. That could be a contributing factor, but it could be is the answer. That's I sorry to give you that attorney answer of it could be because like I said, time is of the essence. Do you know offhand, if anybody in the chat know what was the time period if she actually did get this forensic work done to identify evidence? What was the time period from the time she alleged the event occurred to the time where she actually got the examination? That would be a interesting question. That could be it though. That's a good question. Damn good question. Um, it could be, but probably not though. Is interesting because normally in a crime like this, when allegations like this are made, it's very rare. As someone who's have training and represented persons charged with terrible acts and actually investigated these types of acts, it's actually rare for something like this to happen and the victim to just immediately go like, okay, let me go ahead and go to the hospital and report this. And like normally there's a lapse of time between when the event occurs and when the victim finally musters up the strength, because it's a traumatic event. It's a big ass lapse of time most times, but between the time it occurs and when they actually muster up the strength to go get the examination done. So the fact that some time lapsed between the examination could be problematic. The fact that the examination that you got done happened in another state all the way across the country or halfway across the country, that could be problematic. And I'm gonna just be honest. How could I put this? If I'm an investigative agency in state A, I'm not saying that because of course I will rely on sister states forensics if they have it, but I would evaluate those forensics with a higher level of scrutiny because I'm not familiar with how their state bureau of investigation or their forensic guys, how they operate there. I don't know think about it. It could be if I'm the investigators in Vegas and you go out in California and 2 weeks later, no, excuse me, I said California, Illinois, 3 weeks later, you get the examination done and we get the results from it. When I see the results, I'm gonna be like, okay, cool, we got these results. But I will have a lot of questions because me as a state investigator agency in state A, I don't know what processes, I don't know what deficiencies they have there. So I'm going to look at it and probably give it a high level of scrutiny. Now, I'm still going to use it if it's beneficial, but these are questions that I would have. But that definitely does hurt the case. I don't know how much time lapsed between the actual alleged event and actually when the forensics were done. But the fact that there was some time is always a problem. And the fact that it was done by a different agency, that it was done in another state, all that stuff just makes it much more complicated. Okay. She has the whole entire village behind her. I guess Home and Henyard's cover up. Vegas is in the worst place for these kinds of investigation. It is like it is, but Vegas sees this shit all the time. I mean, it's Vegas. People don't go to fucking Vegas to fucking play shuffleboard. When people go to Vegas, they go there to have a good time. They go there to go out a club. They go there to get high, to get drunk. Nobody like Yeah, nobody. So most people, most people when they go to Vegas, they kind of go in there to cut up. So I'm sure Vegas is really used to dealing with these type of out of state situations. Honestly, Vegas, maybe let's see. I would say Vegas, Miami, maybe New York. Big cities like that are probably used and probably are the best equipped to deal with these types of situations. But that being said, even though they're probably the best equipped to deal with it, that distance just makes it really, really difficult. Yeah, yeah. I believe that it was a mistake she made. She waited and filed when she got home, then let Henya know that's why she was fired. Now that part is probably 100% accurate. Okay, she was terminated. Now that's where her bag is going to come from, the wrongful termination. And I know we talked about wrongful termination before on this channel, but I think that's a much easier thing to prove. I reported this on this day, then I was subsequently fired, and at the time, Henyard and Holmes were like like close allies and compadres. Like, so I think that's a much easier gonna be a much easier case. An inside source told me that she reported it to Tiff and Freeman and was told that they would take care of it. It was only when Tiff didn't do anything, that's when she went to the police authorities. Ah, that's yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So see, I wish I knew how much time lapsed between the date the alleged incident occurred and when she actually went to authorities and or the forensics got done. That because if it's, I'm assuming it was past a week. I'm assuming that it was past a week because I'm sure she probably waited a couple days just from the trauma alone. Then it probably took her a while to tell Henyard. Then Henyard probably started her out saying, "I'm gonna look into it and I'm gonna do this and do that." I don't know. That's a good question. That's terrible though. Okay, let me mention that this inside source is very, very close inside source who work very closely with everyone involved. Okay, shout out to you. Shout out to you for giving us the scoop. Hey, we appreciate that. And I don't think it's disingenuous. I don't not believe it. I believe that actually happened. Because a lot of times that's actually common. She probably think that she had a relationship where she could go to Henyard and tell her. That's actually like, the anytime things like that happen, it's just rare for somebody to go directly to the authorities. That's normally not how it works. Normally they'll go, like in this situation with your contact, saying that they go to their supervisor and tell them what happened, and then their supervisor gives them some guidance, and it just, again, this time is just lapsing and lapsing and lapsing, and it's just making this investigation that is going to probably happen and is related to physical evidence more and more difficult. But hey, I don't doubt your source, and I do think that that's possible. She probably think that she had a relationship where she could go to Tiffany Henyard and something will get done. That's the whole reason you report shit. Like, oh, I'm going to my boss because you think that, okay, I'm telling them what happened so they can take the right steps, and she probably just got stalled out. So yeah, Holmes had a history of this before, but we'll never know the truth until the fear is eliminated. Yeah, that's unfortunately it happens like that too. If if those allegations are true, it's not like this most times when something happened, isn't that like the first time that something happened? Like, like if like, man, if I got caught stealing cars, you know, uh, I'm not gonna say in all cases. Sometimes people do something and it is the first time, but if there's an abuse of power by someone who's been in power for a while, most times they've been abusing that power for a while. Again, not saying that you know this did or didn't happen. I just don't think they have the evidence to prove it. I think a lot of things contributed to that. The distance. I think there's probably was a lack of evidence. Um, I just think a bunch of shit contributed to it. But that employment wrongful termination, that's going to be a little bit easier. The other thing though, with the wrongful termination, that likely has It likely has a cap on it. A civil lawsuit from the allegations that happened in Vegas would actually yield a much larger return than that of lawsuit related to wrongful termination. I wonder if Holmes will go to the meeting on Monday. Yeah, he gonna go. If I just got some good news like this, that's when you show up when it's good news. When it's good news, always show up. When it's bad news, we not in there. Yeah. Complaining case. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. She viewed Tiff as a mentor. When she was hired, she was told that she could be her replacement if she paid attention. That's how I go. That's how I go. That's how I go. You go to because the people always say the right thing. Like, hey, we report any wrongdoing. We protect whistleblowers. People always say the right thing until the shit happened, and then they're like, oh shit, this is gonna make. That's crazy, and that's crazy too. That she allegedly went through all of this termination and everything because she wanted. She said that her career or her, she won't be her office wouldn't be able to recover from it. Of all the shit she got going on, this was the thing that she think her office couldn't recover from. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, that's kind of crazy. All right, let's dive into this last take real quick, or this last story. And I'm not gonna say the channel member's name because when y'all send me something, if the powers that be look through it and say let's talk about it, we just gonna dive in. I don't want to. I want to keep anonymity, with my contacts. You know what I mean? But I thought this was interesting. And this is just briefly is about conflict of Tiffany Henyard holding a position as a the supervising trustee and the mayor of the village of Dalton. Let me go ahead and pull these documents up. Now, there's a lot. Hold on. Let me see. Where they? Okay, there you go. It's a lot. Let's downsize that real quick. But we talked about this before. We talked about it in the context of more so with the attorneys. If the attorneys had a conflict based on their representation, I went through the ethics. I went through the bar rules for the state of Illinois as it relates to conflict of interest. But this is a little different story because we're looking at conflict of interest for employees of municipalities and different roles that they serve. Let me see. Do I want to bring up the actual email? Give me a second. Let me bring up the actual email real quick. Because there's another document that I wanted to show y'all that this isn't something that was new. All right, don't switch. Let's open that up. Let's see. All right, there you go. Let's pull up. Not Trina Downs. Is it this one? Index of compatibilities of office. Yeah, this is dope. Let me go ahead and pull this up. Let me pull up something. Let me remove that. Stop that screen. I want to show y'all something else before we get into the more technical stuff. Is this email right here? Let me see if you all we'll do it like that because I don't want to download this thing. But an index of opinions on compatibility of office. Compatibility of office, that's a stupid way to put it. But they're saying essentially if two persons in position one person who holds position A and position B, can they hold those office simultaneously, or is there an inherent conflict? And they actually got an index of opinions. And if we go look through this, man, it's a lot. But if we look through this, you can actually see they have an index of opinions issued by the Attorney General for the state of Illinois. And they look at, let's see, city manager holding a school board position. They said that it was incompatible, and that was in 6/8/1994. So they have a list of positions where people have reached out for opinions, advisory opinions by the Attorney General's office on if a person who holds position A can also hold position B. And then once they come up with their ruling, they either say the position is compatible or incompatible. I don't like that term because it makes it more convoluted than it needs to be. And then they'll put it on this chart so the public can go look it up. So if I was in the role of, let's see, let's go to circuit clerk. It says circuit clerk right here at the top, right underneath Chicago Board of Education. Circuit clerk. If I'm a circuit clerk, can I also hold a position as a city commissioner? It says see opinion here. Can I also hold a position as a county board member? It says it's incompatible, compatible, incompatible. So that's kind of what we're looking at, what we're going to dive into. They don't have an expressed opinion as it relates to the mayor of a city or township and the actual supervising trustee, but they do have some opinions. I'm not going to say they're close, but they can give us a little bit of a look at how a court would probably rule on whether it's a conflict of interest, compatible or incompatible. But the most important thing I want to take away from here is the assessment of how compatibility between two positions that one person holds is established. That's the biggest takeaway. So I'm less concerned with the decisions. I'm more concerned with, I want y'all to understand what they're going to look at when they say, if they actually evaluate, can Tiffany Henyard hold this position as mayor and as a supervising trustee, the basis that they're going to actually evaluate it on. And I actually went and looked up the old ass case. I was going to bring up the case, but that case was old as shit. I didn't enjoy reading it, so I damn sure not going to enjoy reading it to y'all. And I know y'all damn sure not going to enjoy me read that old ass case to y'all. So I'm going to try to pull it up, just some of the opinions, and give you all the Reader's Digest version. And this is page 9. I thought 9 was well written. But with that index of compatible offices, this is essentially the supplement and document. And I don't know if that shit's small. Hold on. Let me see if I could. Let me make that shit a little bit bigger because I'm already blind. Okay, that's cool. That's a little bit better. All right, so this was written in 1989. God damn. Woo. This was written in 1989 by the Attorney General Neil Hartigan. Government ethics and conflicts of interest, compatibility, and it says the office of township trustee and a city clerk of court located within the township are compatible. This was written by the state attorney, and it says, "Dear Mr. Coughlin, I have your letter November 14th, 1988. Now I'm just reading this background, and because it's the shortest letter, it was well written, but it kind of says the meat and potatoes, which is still applicable today. So even though this case is old as fuck, it ain't old as fuck because I'm older than this. I'm older than this letter. So hey, it's not old as fuck, okay? But just because this letter is mature and seasoned doesn't mean that the rules and regulations aren't still applicable. That's what I say since I'm older than this letter. All right. That's wild. I was like, this letter old as hell. Then I'm like, wait, am I old as hell too? All right. But this is a short one and it's written very plain language. I have your letter of November 14th, 1988, wherein you inquire whether one person may simultaneously hold the office of township trustee and city clerk of a city which is located within the township. Again, this is what we do in the law. This isn't directly on point, but we like, okay, we township trustee, city clerk within the township, mayor within the township. We're looking to see what similarities we could get from this, see if there's anything we can use, whether we would be making an argument for depending on what side decided to pay us a bag to represent them. All right. So hold offices of the township trustee and the city clerk of a city which is located within the township. Because you have requested that I advise you on an informal basis, I shall respond accordingly. And real quick, let me give a round of applause to the attorney generals in Illinois. That's actually a dope thing to do, to issue advisory opinions, because not all attorney generals, not all courts issue advisory opinions. And essentially what an advisory opinion is can I do this, or can they do this, or can we do this? Is no litigation, nobody's suing nobody. But before any of that happens, let's go to the highest court. In some states, the state Supreme Court can issue an advisory opinion on an issue. Like, this is happening. Can we do this? What should we do? So in some states, the attorney generals will issue an advisory opinion saying that, okay, there's no litigation on this, but y'all are coming to us to see if you all can do it within the confines of the law. Let me give you my legal opinion and thought. So, and I think that's a good thing. I think that certain courts, not all courts, because some courts got more important shit to do, but I think that certain courts should issue advisory opinions. I think all attorney general's offices should issue advisory opinions like this. So shout out to them. I'm sorry, I just thought that was dope to do. It says incompatibility between offices exists when the Constitution or a statute specifically prohibits the occupants of either office from holding the other. Okay, so that's the first prong. I think we went through a legal analysis class, but the first prong. So if I wrote this out, incompatibility of offices, I would say offices are incompatible if A, the Constitution or a statute specifically prohibits the occupant of either office from holding the other. That's probably not going to apply in the Henyard mayor supervising trustee scenario. So now let's look at B. All right, so this is the second prong where it could exist, or where the duties of the two offices conflict so that the holder of one cannot in every instance properly and faithfully perform all the duties of the other. And then they cite this old last case, which is still good law in Illinois, 1908, blah, 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 blah. And it says, I'm going to finish reading this one since we're talking about person holding township trustee and a city clerk of a city that is located within the township. It says there's no and this is the opinion, there's no constitutional or statutory provision prohibiting one person from simultaneously holding or serving as a township trustee and as the city clerk of a city located within the township. That's probably always going to be the case. That would be a waste of resources for them to legislate every position like that. You can't do this and this, and this. That would be crazy. So you're probably rarely, if ever, hardly ever. I think the likelihood of establishing incompatibility because it's in the Constitution or statute is probably not going to happen. And it said the issue devolves, therefore, to whether the duties of either office are such that the holder of one cannot in every instance properly and faithfully perform all of the duties of the other. From an examination of the statutes and consideration of the duties of the two offices, it appears that the office of city clerk is ministerial in nature, precluding the likelihood of influence in discretionary city matters. Even though a township may act through its board of trustees to contract or otherwise associate with the city clerk would ordinarily not be under duty to vote or otherwise act in such matters. Therefore, since the duties of the two offices would not conflict, it appears that the offices of township trustee and city clerk in the city within the township are compatible. This is not an official opinion of the Attorney General. If we may be of further assistance, please advise. That's hilarious. Hey, since you asked, I'm gonna give you an opinion. Then he give an opinion, and then he like, but this not an official. This not an official take of the Attorney General. And I'm gonna explain why they put that in there, because I know y'all thinking, why the fuck would he do that? Like, why would you say they asked you for an opinion? You gave an opinion, then you said this is not an official opinion of the Attorney General. What the fuck does that mean? Let me explain that. Then I'll jump to the comments, and we'll probably look at another few, and then we could break down and talk about if y'all think that Tiffany Henyard's, whether there's a conflict or not. I kind of already know which way I'm leaning. But what the attorney general means is, let's say, okay, let's say you're attorney general from 2000 to the end of 2024. So 2025 is going to be a new attorney general. And during your tenure as attorney general, people write advisory opinions to you like, yo, I need your advice, AG, on can we do this? And you issue an advisory opinion saying that, hey, I looked at these two jobs. These jobs, there's no conflict. Each job is independent of the other. One doesn't have, I guess, express authority or supervision over the other. So these jobs, there's no conflict. And you put that opinion out. So you as attorney general from 2020 to 2024, you're going to put out all of your advisory opinions on what you think. Again, this is not the court. This is just you giving your opinion. You giving out all your advisory opinions. You post them to the fucking website so other people can find them. You put out all your advisory opinions. Now in 2025, here come DFD. I'm like, yo, we're gonna do things different. Hey, I'm an AG that's for the people. And I look at all your advisory opinions and I'm like, nah, I don't agree with that one. That one I agree with, this one I don't. I'm gonna immediately go through your advisory opinions. I'm gonna be like, let me see all the advisory opinions they did on these issues first, because these are important issues. There's gonna be issues related to politics, issues related to money, stuff like that. Gonna be very important. I'm going to go to those advisory opinions immediately. And any ones that I don't agree with, I'm going to be like, this is no longer the attorney general's position. So the reason that the person asked the attorney general for opinion, he gave an opinion. Then at the end, it said, this is an official opinion of the attorney general. That last statement was referring to the seat of the attorney general. That opinion was the opinion of the attorney general, the person who was holding the title. But next year, a new person could come in and they can look at that same facts and say that, you know what, I think these is a conflict. I think there's a conflict with this position because of A, B, and C. So that's why that was in there, even though it's really stupid to write, but that's why that was written like that. Let me see. I wish the DA would have picked it up. DA wouldn't have picked it up. To do all the investigative work on their own, too much work. I was in high school when that letter was written. Hey, facts. Shout out to you. I was a youngin' when that was written. Ripe old age. Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely prepared with a typewriter. It was chiseled on a stone like the Ten Commandments. Yeah. I was a kid at 89. Same here. Yeah. That's how I won my case. Ooh, let's see. Double dipping 2 municipal paychecks is not a conflict. Yeah, where you get the pay from doesn't create the conflict. So yeah. How about a senator and a mayor? Yeah. Oh, okay. Let's talk about state level, because you're saying the senator and the mayor. So if we broke it down to the state level, yeah, I think there's probably a statute that would bar, because you're asking, if you're saying a state senator and a mayor, that's probably a situation where there may be an express statute to bar that. That's a good one. Let's look on the list and see if it says anything. Haha, so disregarding everything. Yeah, this is my opinion. Yeah, I agree. That's 100% right. This is my opinion, but it's not my official opinion. This is just my thoughts. The next dude might change it. Oh, let me see if I can find that list and see if it says anything about a senator and a mayor. I seriously doubt it. I feel like that's one. I feel like that would be one where it would be something statutorily stated. Like for state level politics, senator, governor, stuff like that. I feel like that's going to be expressly written. I don't know, but I'm just guessing. Let me pull up the list real quick. I want to pull up the list and see how far did they break it down. All right, indexing opinions of compatibility of office. I guess I could open it up. Let's see. Let me open that up real quick. Give me 1 second. Township trustee. Compatibility index. All right, let's see what they have. Yeah, just looking, and I literally just skimmed through the table of contents, and yeah, so I'm guessing I didn't do a deep dive on this, so I may be wrong, but just looking at this, I scrolled through it mad fast. I don't know if y'all can see it on the screen, but it looks like it's really focused at the city, municipality, township level. So I'm guessing that at the state level and at like so state level, you're talking about senators, governors, they're gonna have express language. At one time, many moons ago, not 1989, but many moons ago, I did have an internship with a state senator and a neighboring state, and they had express provisions that barred them from holding any other elected or appointed office. So I'm assuming that that's going to be the case in most places. Again, don't quote me on that. And as I just look at this index, y'all can see it on the screen. All of those positions appear to be positions that would be city positions. Airport Authority Commissioner, that's not necessarily a city one, but it seems to exclude state level elected officials. That's the best way to say it. City fire chief, city council member, county assessor, county executive, county treasurer. All right, let's see what they got. Mayor. We're gonna go to the mayor. So that's on page 14. Let's go take a look. So they got mayor on 14. Let's go look and see what positions the mayor that they have that may or may not be conflicted out. Mayor is page 14. Let's jump to that. All right. So we jump to page 14. Interesting. So on page 14, they got. Hold on. Let's go here. 5, 7, 14. Hold on. Sorry. I'm looking at something. I-14-005. I gotta jump between these because I think I found one. I-14-005. And that was in. Do we not have that one? I don't remember seeing that one. That was from 20. Sorry, sorry, y'all. Now I'm looking. I'm like, man, I think I seen something that was applicable. I-14. 14. Now I'm looking to see if I could find it. I apologize. Let me go ahead and make that screen like that. I'm trying to look on this other one to see if we got a letter because I saw something that looked like it may apply better to what we're talking about with Henyard here. And that was 5, 7, 14. $89. Damn, these things. 88. 2013. Okay, that's a good one. 2013. Hold on. Damn, that's too long though. All right, 95. Hold on, I'm trying to find trustee and township clerk. Township trustee, fire protection. Sorry, y'all just bear with me. I can't find it. Now I gotta. This second one from the top says village trustee incompatible, issued 5/7/14. is the one I'm trying to find, but it's not on this damn list of it's not on this list of stuff that I got. Let me see if I could, my bad. Let me see if I could Google it and find that one real quick. It was a village trustee conflict. Sorry, I gotta move this over to I got a couple screens going on here so I can see what I'm doing. Let's see. Dash 005. Index of opinions. Okay. So are they fuck? Damn, I can't fucking find it. I can't find it. I'm looking for it. I seen one that kind of I was like, okay, this one it looked interesting, but I can't find it. Let's go back to this list of cases. We'll read one more. We'll read one more before we get out of here. Let's share screen. And I'm gonna see now. I gotta look. I saw one that it looks like it was written in 2014 that may be on point, but it's not in this list of ones that I have. So I'm probably gonna have to go to the AG's website and find it. I'm not about to go in that super dive right now with y'all, but let's pull up another one. That was the first one we looked at. It was I'm gonna read off what are the two positions that they're evaluating. I'll just read off the ones I had. We did township trustee and city clerk of a city located within the township. The next letter is a compatibility of office between the township auditor and the county board member. The next one we have is, damn, that's a long ass opinion too on that one. The next one is a county board member and a township supervisor. This one is close too. County board member and a township trustee. So we got county board member and a township supervisor, county board member and a township trustee and a school board member. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, they got some interesting ones here. Let me see. I'm gonna just read out all of them. Then we'll pick one that we're gonna go through. Then we'll get out of here. All right. The next one is compatibility of offices between a county treasurer and a township trustee. That's crazy. That sound crazy. The county treasurer. If you're the county treasurer and a township trustee, I don't know. That sound mad. That sound inherently like a conflict. Now we got township trustee and a fire and protection district trustee or village trustee. And what else we got? We got a few more. Library district trustee and a township trustee. So yeah, this shit happens all the time. Conflict of interest between a township trustee employed by the road district. I don't know what that is. County board member. Oh, I think we already saw this one. Township supervisor. I think we're gonna read that one. That one sounds interesting. A county board member and a township supervisor. That's another one. Trustee and school board member. Township assessor and township trustee. They're looking at in those jobs. And they do this all the time. Member of a township board and a cemetery trustee. I don't see how it could be any conflict there. Just from the name of it. Resignation of no, I'm not even gonna read that one. And the last one is township trustee. Okay, this isn't the full list, just reading it. I'm gonna go back at another video and we're gonna dig in a deeper dive. But I think I saw the one that I wanted to read. Let's see, let's go up. We're gonna look at it wasn't the school board, it was compatibility of a town board member and a township supervisor. This was 89, same year. I'm sure they're going to use the same standard. Let's see. I'm just getting through it. because this opinion is kind of, it's not too bad. Okay, we're gonna read one more, then I'm gonna let y'all know what I think that Henyard got going on with her conflict of interest. Hey, sorry about holding on all along and trying to figure out all of this stuff. Yeah, I think the state probably has a bar. I think a state probably has a bar. I know they said a judge who was also a vet med. Wow, that's crazy work. A judge. Hmm. I don't know. That I don't think that's inherently a conflict when I think about it. Okay, I think one of the township trustees is on the school board. Yeah, they got a township trustee and the school board on here. How does the township supervisor not have a conflict uh, with one is the mayor of the village in the township in Illinois? All right, that's a good question. Let's read this. Okay, I'll answer that question first, then we'll read this. But generally, I don't think on the face of reading these and reading that old last case from 1908, I don't think that there's a one. I don't think that there's anything out there that says constitutionally or statutorily you can't hold those positions. So I feel like that's always an easy hurdle to cross because that's going to be very rare. It may be out there. I'm just guessing. I haven't looked. I don't believe it's out there. I don't think there's a conflict of interest between being the mayor of the village of Dalton, which is inside of Thornton Township, and the person actually holding both positions as the mayor of the village and the township supervisor. And I'm going to read in why I believe that's the case. And remember, words and how things are written are important. And this is the exact same language. Hold on, let me see. I think this is the exact same language that they used in the first one. At common law, incompatibility of office arises where the Constitution or the statute specifically prohibits the occupants of one office from holding another, which hasn't happened or we don't believe is out there. Although I didn't check, I'm just assuming on that one. Or where the duties of the two offices are in such that the holder of one cannot, in every instance, fulfill and faithfully discharge the duties of the other. I think the key in this language, which makes a lot of this stuff non problematic, is the word every instance. Every, every is a big ass bar. If I said, hey, you have to go outside and pull every leaf off that tree outside, you're going to be out there all the goddamn day. Every is a really, really hard burden to call. And when you see language like that, it was written for the sole purpose of every all. Like normally when attorneys write or courts give opinion, they'll say the majority or objective. They give these standards that give you a little bit of wiggle room. When they got language written in something in a case or opinion or statute that's like very direct, every all, it's putting a restriction on something. And so I think that's the reason why you won't. I think to your question, I think that's the reason why it's not an inherent conflict because of that word every. We're looking at do the duties of the two offices are they such that the holder of one cannot in every instance fully and faithfully discharge the duties of the other. I think that's like a fucking impossible in every instance. If it said the majority of the instances, I'd be like, you know what, it's probably a conflict there, but is the way that is written, which is I think the issue. But I think that's a good question you had. I think is the way that the language is written in that old ass court case, which allows it puts such tight restrictions on it. I don't think you can ever say. I don't think it'll be a conflict because that word every was there. If it said majority, I'd be like, okay, I could possibly see majority, but every, I don't know. Every is a hard burden. Yeah, she's literally been given the right to supervise herself would it not be a conflict on every level? I just think that is the way that it's written. Why would there not be a conflict when they favor one of the 17 different villages or townships over another? And that was my first thought. Before I even looked in this, my first thought was like, I already know if I'm the mayor of a city and I'm the township supervisor, I'm like, yo, son, we're gonna funnel all of this money to where I live at. My city gonna be immaculate. That's why I couldn't hold that position. Well, I'm not saying I would do that, but the thought would cross my mind. I'm probably gonna do the right thing because I'm generally that type of person. But I will be like, oh man, but I think that, how can I put this? I don't know, and y'all let me know because y'all are more deeper on this, but I haven't seen anything out there. Now, I've seen issues out there related to her spending, related to how things are being spent, how money is excessively being spent, how money between the township and the village are being commingled, how she'll have a event at the village, but she's saying there's a Thornton Township thing and it's probably commingled money there. But I don't know. I, I think the thing to look at here, let me go ahead and change the screen up. For me, I think the thing to look at here is I think township money, just on the facts that I have that I've seen, are being redirected to her and her cronies more personally. So I don't think that I think that I think that she's using it to fill up her pockets and her cronies' pockets. And I think that's different than if she was redirecting a majority of the township asset for, let's say, tax revenue for property. I think if she was redirecting that to the actual township as a whole, that would be one thing. But I think what she's doing on both instances is redirecting village money to herself and her cronies, and township money to herself and probably her cronies. But I don't know, or I don't have any evidence to say that, hey, when she's voting on things, she's actually voting on things to give the village of Dalton more resources than what another village or another city within the township has. Could be the case. It wouldn't shock me if that was happening. I mean, hell, I would think about doing that because I live there. But I do agree with that. That was literally my first thought that I had. I was like, it would be a conflict because I'm the supervising all of these different townships and cities, and the city I'm a mayor of is within there, and I'm going to redirect excess funds to my city in particular. But then the other part of it is the supervisor, in order to be able to redirect funds, she has to either unilaterally go rogue, or she would have to have at least a majority of the trustees on board to make that happen. So, but I don't know. It looked like it was all personal gain for me personally. The supervisor oversees the funds to see that all of the municipalities are in financial compliance. Treasurer, the supervisor is the treasurer for all the township funds, including roads and bridge. The bottom line is you can point to a few instances, but the language that the court laid out that says every instance. You could point to a few, but unless you could point to show where in every instance, this person in this role in every instance, I think that's just a big problem. They use language that really gave for no wiggle room to really create a conflict, regardless of no matter what conflict we see. Because I see where the conflict would be, but I think that language makes it very, very problematic. Let me see. Yeah, that language is a problem. The duties of the two offices are such that the holder of one in every instance cannot in every instance fully and faithfully discharge the duties of the other. Yeah, that's not going to be in every instance. That's an impossible hurdle to climb, I think. That's why I don't think it's a conflict of interest. Like before I saw this, I was like, yeah, it's a conflict of interest. I could see 2, 3 conflicts of interest without even fucking knowing anything about municipality law. Like, okay, yeah, like this is what a township is. The villages within that township. Yeah, I see conflict of interest, a few of them, But according to this standard that they laid out in this case, the People X Rail Myers versus Haas, 1908. Maybe one day I go in the video and actually read that case. It wasn't long, but it was kind of dry. Maybe one day I go and read that case. But that's why I think that it just can't be a conflict. Where the duties of the two offices are such that the holder of one cannot, in every instance, fully and faithfully discharge the duties of the other. Yeah, that's impossible. That was written to allow people to the way that was written, in my opinion, that was written. I agree with that comment 100%. I think that's a good point. I think that was written in a way to allow people to be able to hold these positions. She doesn't even live in Dalton. Now, that's a problem in and of itself. You generally have to live in the district that you represent. Most of her job has to do with handling funds, whatever she's doing with the money. The conflict is that she has control over both bags. I agree. That's the conflict. But I agree. I agree with your point. I don't disagree with you on the point. I don't disagree with you on that comment. I 100% agree with it. But the question is going to be is are the duties of the two offices such that the holder of one cannot in every instance faithfully and fulfill or discharge the duty of the other? And I don't know. I think that language every just creates a very, very high burden. And generally statutes aren't written and court opinions aren't given to say every and all because lawyers shy away from that. We never want to use those words every and all. It's actually counter to what we want to do. If I say every or all, now you're saying that it's inherently something that I can't do or I'm blocked from doing. So, but I think it's just how it's written. Yep, she's commingling funds and unlawfully using she services a big bigo against Illinois law. I agree with all of that. I agree with everything that y'all are saying with regard to the conflicts you identify. And I agree with this point because we did videos on this point, and I think that this is something that can factually be proven from investigations. I just think that the way it was written, it allows for some finessing. It allows for a high probability of finessing and tomfoolery. It just is what it is. It's an old ass case. Let's see. No, wait. Is it a conflict based on this standard, right? Yeah, this is just the standard that the AG uses anytime he gets a question on whether or not two positions are a conflict. And the first thing they look at is there a statute or a constitutional provision? If not, then they look at do the holder of one job, whatever it said. It's I'm not even going to repeat it, but that's just kind of how it is. Let's go ahead and let's see. I'm gonna find one. Let me see. The officers of the county board member, county auditor, trustee were incompatible since the issuance of those opinions. However, General Assembly had declared it to be lawful. Okay, and in this one, this is actually interesting because in this one, it says that the this one was interesting. I just saw this little blurb. It says a county board member and a township auditor trustee were incompatibles. But since the issuance of those opinions, however, the General Assembly has decided it to be lawful for any person to hold simultaneously the office of county board member and township supervisor, and in counties of less than 100,000 population, the offices of county board member and township trustee. So, oh man, this should get deep. Like this should actually may require this this shit actually may require its own independent live video. I may have to do some research, but I just was skimming through this because I was like, this is a long opinion. Why is it so long? And let me change the view so y'all can see that. Y'all can see where I'm reading. But it says I'm gonna pick it up from okay. I'm gonna read this whole section right here. And it looked like the AG at one point said this is an incompatible thing. You can't do this. Then the General Assembly at the state level said, nah, people can hold these positions if it's less than X amount of people. And we're going to read this whole paragraph. I'm not going to read this whole case because your boy about to get out of here. But it says, all right, a common law incompatibility of office arises where the Constitution or a statute specifically prohibits the occupant of one office from holding another, or where the duties of the two offices are such that the holder of one cannot in every instance fully and faithfully discharge the duties of the other. Peoples ex rel. Myers v. Haas, 1908, which we'll go into one day. I think it made it a worthy case for us to look into. Because of the inability of a person holding both offices to fairly represent the conflicting interests of both the county and the township, Attorney General Scott advised in opinion number S-877 issued March 17th, 1975, that the offices of county board member and township supervisor were incompatible, and in opinion number NP-1108, that the offices of county board member and township auditor trustee were incompatible. Since the issuance of those opinions, however, the General Assembly has declared it to be lawful for any person to hold simultaneously the offices of a county board member and township supervisor, and in counties of less than 100,000 population, the offices of county board member and township trustee. The office of township trustee and the county board member remain incompatible in counties with populations of 100,000 or more. This is interesting. I think I looked at that case too. I need to look at Fitzsimmons v. Swallies. Offices of county board members and township assessors incompatible of township. That's interesting. Okay, so this is actually going to have to take a deeper dive, but that's interesting. So an AG back in the Black Panther days in the 70s, in 1975, said those two positions were incompatible. Then later, the legislator said, no, those positions are compatible if the population is 100,000 or less. But if it's over a certain amount, it's still incompatible. Now, that's interesting because now I want to look at the legislative history as to why they did that. I'm just shooting off the cuff here. Hey, I'm not a municipalities attorney by trade or expert, but I'm assuming that if I would have wrote that and put that in there as to the population, and I'm saying that if there's 100,000 people or less, it's not incompatible. You can do both jobs. But if it's 300,000 or more, you can't do both jobs. The only rationale I can get off the cuff without knowing anything is that the assumption is a place that has a population of $300,000 or more, you're going to have so much financial control and leverage that appearance of a potential conflict is going to be there because your financial pool is so strong. Whereas if it's a population of 20,000, 40,000 people, even though in both instances, the town with less than 100,000 and the town with more than 300,000, in both instances, the people holding those two positions are probably doing the same shit and can touch the same thing. But in the one who has 100,000 or less people, not a conflict. 300,000 or more is a conflict. The only distinction that I can see is the level of control and resources that the person in the higher populated place would have. That's actually kind of interesting. Wow. That's actually kind of interesting. So now I actually want to see. Fuck, I didn't want to look at all that old ass shit. See what y'all made me do. Now I'm gonna have to circle back next Friday or Saturday, and we're gonna have to talk about this. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, over 170,000. Okay. So now I gotta see if I. That's interesting. And I did see. We're about to get ready to get out of here. Long story short is I don't think it's a conflict based on what I'm seeing from previous cases that the attorney general gave an opinion on. Okay, I don't think it's an inherent conflict Now, when we looked through that table of cases where they looked at all of these different jobs to see if there was conflict, I did see one that looked like it may be spot on or real close to Tiffany Henyard's situation, but I didn't have that in the list of opinions from the attorney general that I had. So what I'll do is we'll probably reconvene, counselors, co-counsel. We'll reconvene at a later date. I'll do a little bit of digging because it was one case that looked like it might be on point, and it related to village supervisor, township supervisor, and all of that stuff. But yeah, that's it. Hey, I appreciate all y'all for tuning in. It got a little deep on the back end of the video. Whew. Yeah, sorry about that, man. I'd like to take y'all into the pool, kind of into like the 6 feet, 7 feet. I don't like to go in the 12-foot area. I can swim, but not that good. We got a little deep on the back end of it, but it was good things to know. Interesting to see how the attorney general opined on things. Interesting to know that the legislator came in and said, no, you can do this. That's crazy that the legislator of a state would come in and say that a person can hold these two positions. I'm thinking somebody's cousin or some senator's cousin or wife probably held those two positions and wanted to get that bag. But hey, I think everything has a specter of shadiness. Hey, that's it for this video. I appreciate y'all for tuning in this late night, early morning. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all Sunday. Be blessed. Peace.